Committee meeting on February 8th, 2018, 7:05 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our secretary is absent tonight. He has other obligations that's taken his attention. So Ms. Janik will take the role, and she'll also be doing the minutes.
Mr. Cody?
Present.
Mr. Edwards?
Here.
Ms. Hollenbach?
Present.
Mr. McNally?
Present.
Mr. Leonard?
Present.
Ms. Janik is here. Mr. Paul?
Present.
Katz? Mr. Katz? Absent noted Ms. Rashley, Mr. Dakotas, and Ms. Jocelyn.
Okay. The first thing on the agenda after the roll call is an opportunity for any public comment. So is there anyone in the audience? And I will read the ground rules for public comment. Members of the public can address the Budget Committee on issues related to Tiverton fiscal year 18-19 financial matters on the current posted agenda. Each speaker will get 3 minutes to address the Budget Committee. Members of the public are welcome to submit written comments about issues related to the 18-19 budget. So the posted agenda tonight has to do with the Department of Public Works. So that would be what would be in order for public comments. So Mrs. Cook?
Donna Cook, I just want to ask a question since maybe the minutes of the meeting from last week would be part of the agenda. I just wanted to speak on one thing that came up last week out of the charter.
Well,
if I'm permitted.
Ground rules we voted on, we only speak on the current agenda.
But there was something not quite right with what happened last week.
But that's not on the agenda tonight.
I understand what you're saying. It's not past history, although it is last week, but it has to do with going forward.
All I can say is, by the rules that we adopted, that would not be an appropriate comment.
I understand, Mr. Chairman, but it's a little restrictive considering they didn't go by the charter last week when they made some type of a decision.
I don't know. I wasn't here.
I understand that.
I don't know that
but
there was anything to do with the charter.
But it did. I'm just trying to say that they need to understand that they need to go by the charter when they make a decision.
I think everybody on the committee understands that.
But they didn't understand that.
Well, I can't speak for everybody. So I think that you're not in order, so if you just please take your seat, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, in light of the fact that you weren't here, I think it would be, and it's charter related, I don't see that there's any, and it's going, she says it has to do with going forward, I don't see any reason not to let her talk. Has it like 1 minute thing?
It's not to disparage anyone, it's just...
If it's charter violation, I feel like we should hear it. That's what I'm thinking.
This is not the forum to hear a charter violation. If there's a feeling there's a charter violation, there's a process outlined in the charter.
I'm trying to prevent it, that's all.
Okay.
Maybe if we don't go forward.
Okay. I'm operating on the guidelines that were voted on by this committee for public comment. That's what we said we were going to do. So, if you'd please be seated so we can proceed, I would appreciate it.
It's very disappointing.
My last effort is I really don't want to be responsible for a charter violation,
No,
so just letting
Mr.
you know.
Chairman, may I make a motion to amend the rules on the agenda to allow this one comment subject to the normal 3-minute limit.
You certainly can make a motion.
All right, so moved.
Do I
Second.
hear a second?
I seconded it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of adopting that change? 2 opposed?
I understand. I wasn't here.
So, get that? Yes, I voted against. Well, and Alex abstained.
I'd just like to draw a contrast to last year where there was all this talk about not letting the public speak. This is a very narrow exception and absolutely nobody voted for it, but Ruth and myself, I think that's shocking.
Yep,
Let the record
but
stand.
that's what has been adopted. It wasn't my choice,
That'll go in the newspaper.
okay?
You did have a choice to amend that for this particular instance.
Yes. Okay.
Donna, I would like to just let you know that you can submit things in writing to the Budget Committee also. So
Okay.
if you want to submit it in writing.
Yes, we've read that, so
Okay.
let's move along to Mr. Anderson and his presentation.
All right, thank you. So I was gonna, I don't know how you wanted to, I know when we did the tour at the facility, someone asked if I could put a quick PowerPoint presentation together. The screen's not working, I can't connect to the, so I will try and, I passed out the presentation, I just wanna go through, really what my presentation covers is more capital-related paving prospects of what I put into the budget. It does not really, I don't go into detail on the operational side, but we can talk about that afterwards. So with that, I'll try and go through it quickly.
Okay, before you start, I will
Sure.
note that I handed out a additional sheet entitled DPW Capital Budget Needs, and then also another sheet having to do with pavement upgrade schedule. So the committee has all of those.
One more thing, too. If you're wondering where I got the data from. That's okay, Mr. Chairman? That's the data, right? Some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. That you have already? Okay.
There's one for generous in there.
So let's see if I wish you could see these, but all right. All right, so the second slide talks about the present workforce at DPW, just to kind of give the budget committee an understanding of who works at DPW and what do I have. I've got 15 employees, 2 of which are maintenance personnel. I have one and a half mechanics, actually 1.5 mechanics. I have 1 administrative assistant. I have a foreman, a lead operator, 1 mechanic, 4 operator truck drivers, and 1 strictly a truck driver. I have a landfill operator and a landfill attendant. That makes up the 15 personnel work staff. Why am I starting with this slide? Because in a minute I'm going to show you what the surrounding communities around us have as equivalent to us, so you kind of get an understanding of where Tiverton falls in relation to Middletown, Portsmouth, Barrington, and I did a little analysis between Barrington and Warren, just to kind of give where do we stand in the whole mix of things. Just before I do that, the third slide shows basically how my department's broken down. We have the highway division, which is responsible for the snow plowing, roadway and maintenance repair, grass cutting and maintenance, drainage system repairs and maintenance, and any project-related construction activities. We have the landfill division, which falls under me, which is basically 2 personnel. We operate the landfill. We operate the residential drop-off area. I'm dealing right now with the landfill closure activities, and I'm also overseeing the trash contractor that does curbside for the town. My equipment maintenance division, again, that's 1.5 mechanics. We take care of all the DPW fleet. We take care of all the fire department fleet, and also any repairs that have to be done on other departments, such as school department. We take care of their plow vehicles, and we take care of the senior bus. We take care of anything to do but police. So any equipment in town comes to our garage, not including the police vehicles. The building maintenance division is really 2 personnel, and they're really more maintenance for general repairs, general maintenance, general cleanup. Trash removal at all the town facilities and park areas, and they take care of all the buildings with the exception of the library. They do pick up the trash there, but they don't do any internal maintenance there. And then as far as my other roles, I also serve as the town engineer, which I deal with the planning and subdivision review. I do also all the individual lot stuff, working with the building official, and I am the designated erosion control officer for the town. So, working with the chart I handed out for all the different towns. So I basically, between myself and my assistant, we call Bristol, Middletown, Portsmouth, Warren, and we did some averages. So my first chart basically shows that when you're looking at total miles in the town, how many mechanics each town has, the size of the road crew for each town, and the total workforce, we're pretty much at the bottom of all the lists. So for workforce, we have 12. Bristol has 33, Middletown has 17, Portsmouth has 19, Warren has 20. Road crew wise, we have 9 for that work in the road crew of my department, whereas Bristol is 28, 16, 12, 13, 17. The mechanics, we have 1.5, everyone else pretty much has 2. Town miles, we're probably up near not the highest, obviously, Portsmouth has 110, but just give an idea of how many miles we have to plow in relation to what the other towns do. And then private miles are roads that we do, that are private roads, but we have to plow and sand. And again, Portsmouth has about 22 miles, we have about 15, Bristol has none. And then town plow drivers, we have 9 plows, 9 drivers. 28, Bristol has 28, Middletown has 16, Portsmouth has 14, Warren has 13, and the average is about 18. And then private snow drivers, we have 9 plows, small plows, pickup size, we hire as third-party contractors. The other towns don't have as many. Bristol has 5, and Warren has 4, but the rest of them do not really have anything, only because they employ their own drivers and they have more plows. So again, I'm just trying to do a comparison showing where Tiverton falls, and we're pretty much on the lower end of most of it. My next chart basically shows town plows versus town roadways. We have 9 again. I have the town separated into 9 routes, 9 plows. 9 plows, 82 miles. Bristol has 28 plows, they have 88 miles. Middletown has 16 plows, they have 80 miles. So, and we can keep going. Portsmouth has 14, 110. Warren has 13, 152. Just to kind of give you an idea of, we have 9 plows and we're taking care of 82 miles of roadway. The chart on the right basically shows paving budgets. These are estimated average paving budgets that other towns have. I think last year we had $245,000 was in my budget. Other towns have around $800,000. Let's see, Bristol has $800,000, Middletown has $650,000, Portsmouth's $850,000, and this is their average. And Warren is about $500,000 a year. Just to give you a better understanding or an idea of what other towns around us are doing to repair their roads and things. My next slide is basically showing you the equipment by year, just to kind of give you an idea.
Mr. Chairman, should we ask questions as he goes or at the end?
Feel free.
I'm just curious, is there, in general, in public works and with road maintenance and plowing and such, is there a difference depending on the density of the population?
I don't think so. Again, I really think it depends on the amount of roads, and the amount of roads you have to handle and the amount of roads you have to plow. At least what I find, again, from talking to the other directors, their number of plows that's what they feel they need to do the amount of roads they have to cover. We have 9, so we have to split our 9 out by the amount of miles we have to cover. Each one of my plow drivers does roughly between 10 and 12 miles. One has a little less depending on hill size, and a couple of the other trucks have a little bit more, but I try to average it out so every plow driver or every employee, 9 of them, have roughly the same amount that they have to sand, salt, or plow every time.
So there aren't efficiencies or anything if you're dealing with long stretches of more rural roads versus, say, Warren or Bristol, where a lot of smaller roads with more traffic?
I'm not going to go, again, we have 2 different parts of this town, if I look at it. The northern side of town, which has a lot of small streets, a lot of hills, a lot of tight intersections, things like that, and we have the rural part of town, I'm going to call it the southern end of town, where it is more straightaways, but we have a lot of streets, small streets with no turnarounds that come off of those long straightaways. So it's kind of a mixture of both, but again, northern part of town, Yeah, I mean, that to me is more like a Warren or a Bristol. Southern part of town, probably more like a Portsmouth, open roads.
Why do we plow unaccepted roads?
You know, I've been here a year and I've been asking myself that same question.
I mean, who
And-
tells you you have to?
From what I've been able to find out, this is something we've always done. This is something that past councils have said, you need to plow these roads. These are things, there are roads we plow and sand and there's roads, but these roads we don't maintain. So I have issues with that too, because there's roads in town that are crumbling and yet, and causing damage to our plows, and yet that I'm responsible to plow it. It's on my list of things to try and accomplish this year about getting things taken off lists or added to lists or getting things accepted. I guess we had a road committee in a number of years ago that didn't really solve a lot, from what I understand. So there's a lot of gray area, and then I understand that as people went to the council, they got things added, and they got things, you know, there are private roads we have to plow. I don't understand why, when there's homeowner associations that they pay money to and should be taking care of their roads. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So equipment, just to give you everyone an understanding, because again, a lot of the phone calls I get from angry residents during snowstorms and things is that I don't understand why it's taking so long to do these roads. When I look at your website, you got two Macs shown on the front cover, and it looks great. Well, that's two of our total 10 fleet, 10 being our 10-wheel dump truck that's in reserve. That's very big for our roads, so that's why that's the reserve truck if something happens. Just to give you an idea, we're running, right now we have two Ford L800, L8000s, 1992 vehicle plows. Those are my problematic plows right now. Those are the ones that break down a lot. A lot more this year than they did my last winter. I have two Fords LN 8000s in the same category. The problem with these Ford trucks, which I'll show in pictures in a minute, is they're old. We can't get parts for them. Ford doesn't make parts for them anymore. We're actually on eBay now looking for parts. The sanders that are on these vehicles, they don't make the sanders anymore. So we're fabricating parts for these things. They're past their useful life. They're rusted. There's a lot of issues with them. These are the trucks that I'm looking to change out right now. These are the trucks that are problematic for the fleet. And plus, I mean, they're over 30 years old. Just to give you an idea on this table, so you'll understand, anything that's underlined is used as a plow and sander. Anything that's not is just showing you the other equipment that we have at DPW and the age of it, or the year that it was purchased, or the year that we have it. The two Freightliners that we purchased in 1999, actually, believe it or not, those are actually still good trucks. We're using them. They're fine. They're maintained, and we're moving. So really, I have 4 trucks right now that are problematic for the department. The two Freightliners, they're 1999, but they're working, and we maintain them, and they're doing okay. The other, so we look at the dump truck that we bought in 01, 10-wheeler. I have that as a yellow, fair condition. There's a legend up on top. Oh. Why I have it as a fair condition, because right now in the budget under capital, I have to replace the dump body. The dump body right now is rotting. It's a steel dump body. It's rotting. It's from 2001. The body needs to be replaced. The cab, the frame, everything on that is fine. The body just needs to be replaced. So that's why that's under fair right now. And I have it fair because there's an issue with it trying to go up right now to dump, because the piston's going to go through the roof of it. Let's see, the clamshell, the Mac clamshell, just so anyone understands that up in the top, and the New Holland, so I'm going to talk about that. The clamshell is something we refurbished. We took our old vacuum truck, took off the vacuum because it had more holes in it than Swiss cheese, and they put a clamshell on it. And that's what we're using to clean our catch basins and keeping it inside of our RIPD's permit, and we're keeping in compliance. The Ford 350 dump truck, that's in poor condition right now. That's one of the trucks that has, the only one of the trucks right now that we have a lift gate on. The motor's going, the transmission's starting to fail. It's not in my inventory, but one of my requests right now that the council has agreed with is to replace 2 of our plows. However, my goal is not to just buy plows that sit and only get used during the wintertime and sit in the garage the rest of the year. I want trucks that can be used as dump trucks, be versatile. Therefore, we can take and in one of the trucks I'm going to show you right in a minute, there are existing 550 Ford, which we plow with, has a steel body that's also rotting off, and I have to replace. I'm asking to replace that this year. The tailgate we'll put on that truck, so if this truck eventually, the 350 goes, we're not gonna be down a truck. We'll actually be able to use the other new ones if we do happen to get them. If I continue on the next slide, just to go through it, so the Ford 550 Super Duty, that's a smaller truck than what I'm asking for right now as part of the new ones in the capital program. I'm looking for the Ford 650 or something equivalent in size. The 550 is an okay vehicle for our hills from like Lawton. It does Lawton over to Riverside Drive. That kind of covers that area. It's this very small roads that we just can't get our bigger plows into. The only real issue with the Ford, the 550, it has a slide-in sander and it doesn't have a lot capacity. So it has to keep coming back to the yard to get filled with sand to go back out and continue on its route. Whereas our bigger plows actually can stay out more, sand more, and get more done, and making fewer trips back to the yard to get sand and salt. And then we have two, for a better term, pickup truck size plows, the Ford 250, which right now is under repair because we had a little accident on Bismarck on one of the snowstorms this year. And then the new truck, which is the Dodge Ram 3500 in the last column under 270 we bought last year for maintenance. We bought that with a plow, so that's gives us a little bit of the ability. Again, they don't have sanders, but they give us the ability to take care of the fire station, the police stations, the library, the town hall, all of this, the senior center, everything that we have to take care of as a facility. The rest of the equipment, again, it's color coded. You can look at it later. This is just gives you an idea of all the equipment that DPW has, the age in which the year in which we bought it, so everyone kind of get an idea and see it. And if I'll go to the next page, you'll actually see the trucks. Next page basically has a summary of just the trucks we use for plowing, and it's color coded with it, everything, so you can kind of see what's good and what's bad. So when we get to the pictures, it kind of gives you an idea of when you see it on the chart, you actually have the pictures. So we have two Macs in the top middle picture. That's the two newest dump trucks we bought in 14 and 15. Our Ford utility truck, again, that's just for construction related stuff. The lower picture corner there, that's the Mac 10-wheel dump truck. That's the spare vehicle right now. That's the truck that the body is rotting out and the piston's going to go through it. That's the one that we need to replace. Our clamshell, or the old vacuum truck that we converted to a clamshell. And then we just have our new Pelican sweeper and our John Deere loader, which helps us put the sand into the plow trucks. The next page basically shows, just giving an idea of equipment. The hot box, which was a great purchase this town ever made now. Again, being further away from the asphalt plants, we can go keep the asphalt hot when we get back here and do our road repairs as we need to. Dump load trailer that our maintenance department uses when it goes around and picks up all the garbage at all the town parks, the facilities, the beaches, things like that. The Ford 350, this is the only truck we have right now with a tailgate, which is something that we need. This is something this is the truck that actually we got from the police on a drug seizure. They gave it to us a number of years ago. It's been almost past useful life. Again, it's going to need a motor. It's going to need a transmission. To put it into this truck, we may just probably shelve it, but that means that I have to buy a tailgate and put on my 550 truck, so we'll have the ability to do what we need to do with a tailgate. To give you an idea, so the two Freightliners on the lower picture there, that's the two trucks that are at 1999. They do look old, but they actually run very well, and there's no issue. We're not having any issues really with those. The occasional pony motor will go. What's the pony motor? The pony motor is what runs the Sanders. That we have those issues all the time. Hopefully the new trucks we're going to have won't have pony motors. They'll be a hydraulic hooked up to the truck themselves. The cat track loader is our dozer at the landfill right now that we run every day. The Ford 550 on the lower right corner, that's our small plow truck. That's the one that has a slide-in sander, as you can see, strapped down on the back. That's the truck that also has that if you kind of get under the truck and look up, you can kind of see through it in a lot of spots, and it's pretty much had it. So I'm looking to get that body replaced so that it becomes a truck, and put the tailgate on that, the lift gate that allows us to up and down motorized. And then the last page kind of gives you just some more shots of our equipment, from our backhoe, our backup dozer, our compressor, again, The roller we have, we have there are two vehicles that we are operating at DPW that are hand-me-downs from the police, the 2010 Charger, and there's another Dodge Charger that we have in the yard as well. And then our chipper, that's in the lower right-hand corner. And then the next page basically shows you the Dodge Ram 3500. This is the one that we bought, that we got for maintenance. It was proof 2016. It also has a plow hookup in the front, so we can actually plow around and do what we need to do. This replaced the Grand Marquis that the two maintenance people were driving around in. That's now, I think, sitting as junk in my yard, if I'm not mistaken. Next, quickly shows the 10-wheel dump body. I kind of took some pictures of the rusting through. Couldn't really see up the holes in it. Just showing you that's the old one. I want with the new one on the right-hand side. And I said the similar with the 1-ton. The 550 is a 1-ton capacity. With a lift gate, it kind of showed you an idea of that's what we're looking to buy. Just the back body, not the whole. The rest of the truck still works, is fine, and everything works on it. The last thing is, so the next slide, the 4 trucks on the left, those are our oldest. Those are the 1992, 93 Nabisco trucks that we bought used, the town bought used, cut the frames, fitted them out, and put sanders on them, stainless steel sanders, and plow blades that don't turn. They're set. They don't turn. They turn to the right. They're set. They do it. The two with the lights on top of those are the 1992. The other two are the 1993 with the smaller lights on top, the smaller yellow light on top. What I want to replace 2 of these with is hopefully what you see on the right-hand side. That's the Ford 650. It will have a stainless steel sander on it and plow, which obviously is not shown here, but just to give you an idea of what the size of the truck we're looking for. It's bigger than the 1-ton, but smaller than the Mack that we bought. Again, these are roughly about, I got price quotes of $118,000 a piece. In 2015 and 14, I think we paid $225 a piece just for each Mack. Which again, the Macks are nice for long straightaways. I just don't think it's versatile enough for what we need. The 650 is somewhat in the range of the Internationals that we have. That's why I'm kind of leaning toward that. Though I'm still looking at talking international about what kind of price that they have for their trucks. One of the problems we have, especially on the hills, which I think there's a picture here. Nope. All right. I'll go back to that in a second. So one of the things is with the hills, the Macks are okay. They have. They're okay. They're not great. I've watched the Macks slide 100 feet down the hills. I'm afraid, like, there's a, let me see if I can get to the picture. The very last picture. No, I'm going to get to it. I'll go, sorry. I won't jump ahead. Real quick. Back. Come on. Sorry. I'm jumping ahead. All right. So I'll continue with the presentation I put together. So, is the hills. I'm looking to get something with limited slip differential, a locking rear differential, so the trucks will be able to, the tires will grab and go up the road instead of one tire spinning and not the other one doing nothing like we have right now. None of our trucks are 4x4 with the exception of the 550, the current, the one that needs a body. One of the things, the talk that came up during our discussion on that Saturday for the tour was ice problems and drainage problems, and one of the reasons I'm here to hopefully ask you to combine the paving and the drainage budget into one budget, so that I have the versatility to be able to make drainage repairs and pave things instead of just having no money for drainage and having money to pave, but it doesn't make sense to pave if the road needs to be fixed for drainage first. So this is one of the issues on Quaker, you'll see. I think we're out there every night when it's cold because there's water flowing down the road that's coming out of the hill that we can't do anything about. So, or we have to treat right now because the ground's frozen, so we have to send a gentleman out in the truck to sand and salt it, try and break the ice up, because we constantly get calls from the police and the fire. This isn't just one spot, there are loads of spots around town. My goal this summer and spring is to correct these issues. I've already corrected 2. I want to correct these issues so we don't have to keep calling people in on overtime to go out and do this. I don't know how many, again, there are problem areas that have been happening around town forever. I've only been here a year. I've identified a number of spots, and we're working and going to correct all of these. Some of these are caused by homeowners, which we've addressed in letters, and we're going to work with them. Other ones are just coming out on the road, coming up from the road, and we've got to just try and correct and fix. Okay, quickly. So paving, I asked for a big number. So what I did was someone said to me, well, how bad are the roads in Tiverton? So I looked at, I went down and I drove and I assessed every road in Tiverton, giving it a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being, nothing needs to be done, to 5 being, we gotta rip it out, put a brand new road in. And I looked at it and I did the entire town and I took our prices from bids and said, okay, what would it cost if you had a 5 being total replacement, 4 needing an overlay, mill and pave? How much would it cost us to fix it? So I did a 6-year budget. I came out to $3.4 million, which is roughly about $500,000 a year. I broke it up based on our plow routes, just to not you know. So I took all the anything that was a 5 and a 4 and a plow route, and of our 9 routes, broken up the whole town, and I tried to break it up so that it was somewhere in the range of $500,000 to $600,000 a year, which is a lot of money. I understand that. But it's just to give everyone an understanding in town, because I get a lot of phone calls that say, well, how come you're not doing my road? Or, I see you're paving that road, why aren't you doing mine? So I have something I'm probably gonna try and post. Again, it's all dependent on how much funding is approved and finally, and what the people wanna do. But that gives you an idea of, for the next 6 years, of the problem roads we have right now, to get them back to something that's realistic. There are a lot of roads that just have binder on them. There's a lot of roads that were never finished. There's a lot of roads that I don't know what happened in the past. Again, I just came here a year ago. But that's how I came up with my numbers, and that's how I came up with my schedule. And there is I believe I gave the roads, and someone asked if I could put together the individual prices. The total price for the year, what everything adds up to, is on my capital budget for every year. And then I have, the next picture basically shows you just kind of what we have for roads, okay? This is, I just picked the one because it was in next year's budget, Ledger Lane. Why is Ledger Lane? Because I got 17 calls last year when we were doing North Brayton. Why wasn't Ledger Lane getting done? I didn't know how bad Ledger Lane was until I actually went out there. It's bad. We have grass growing through it. We have, there's maybe a half an inch of asphalt on it. It's completely gone, needs to be completely ripped up and completely done right. But that's one of my on my list of roads. So I took some pictures to kind of give you an idea. How bad is it? Pothole Central, alligator cracking. It's a mess. It's falling apart. Other streets in town. Ames Street. Okay, that's the side of the road where it's all pretty much, you can't drive on it. You see gravel underneath. Patches upon patches upon patches. Rutting, it's all such a thing. Bobbin Hill Road, when we were doing Nicholson Place and fixing that, everyone on Bobbin Hill Road was upset because why couldn't I do theirs? Half of their road is pretty much almost washed out. Okay, yes, is that on the list? No, I'm trying to, again, work in areas, so I'm not having the contractor we hired running all over the town. I'm trying to concentrate, get it all done in one area, move to the next area the following year. If something comes up, we have to move it, we move it, but just the thought. Okay, so my next picture is one I was trying to explain earlier. So Horizon Drive, I don't know if everyone in town is familiar with that. Horizon Drive, I call it the Tiverton ski slope. I can't for the life of me understand how that road was ever put in and approved. I actually took it, my son who helped me put this PowerPoint together looked at it and said, oh my God, where is that road? That's incredible, that's not real. It is, if you stand up the top. I understand the kids used to try and get air off of that and come down when their cars. Anyway, this road, just because why I show it is because we have a Mack plow this one of our newest vehicles. It actually slid 200 feet down the end. I was glad it stopped before it went off the road into the woods. Can't do much with ice, I know that, but that's just kind of idea of the steepness in these hills. Bismarck, my other favorite road in town. I only take this because I had $9,000 damage to my F-250 because it went down the road and completely spun out with the ice. And then trying to get it out and pull it back and put some sand down with one of the Macks, the Mack slid down 100 feet and went right into the side of my truck.
I just have a question on that issue of sliding trucks. I know that you sometimes sand and salt before the icing occurs, so why can't that take care of some of this?
We have.
Okay.
We do take, that does help some, but when a lot of the hills on the northern side of town, we can't physically plow up the hills. They are too steep. The tire does not have, our trucks don't have limited slip or buttons on them that I can push to engage the rear wheels.
I mean, go down ahead of time.
So they have. We on our trucks, I will have, with the exception of one, have center spinners. So they're actually sanding, they're running over the sand. So as they sand, the truck is actually going over that sand and salt so that it gives it some traction. It's still twisted and turned. I watched the truck back up 10 feet and then slide 100 feet into a truck.
On ice or sand?
It was ice. It was ice that had sand on it.
That
That's
that
how bad it
hadn't
is.
been sanded before the ice formed, so.
It did. It was hit once, then they were coming back after they hit all the other routes and went back to plow, and that's when they started slipping and sliding all the way down the hill.
So if there's not enough salt or sand, maybe it starts forming some more ice, and you have to increase the amount,
Again,
and on the hills, I don't
salt
know.
is only good and sand's only good. It's only gonna work at a certain temperature. So if
Right.
the temperature's down, it's not gonna do until you can get some heat and stuff on the
Okay,
road.
thanks.
We could have put, yeah. Again, a lot of the DOTs right now is only using salt. They're not even using sand. I'd hate to try not to use sand in this town because of the hills we have. So we're using a 50-50 mix. Plus our sand and salt budget would have to go up if we went with pure salt here. And then North Brayton Edge again, I just put it in and we just did that. Came out very nice. So that's what the rest of the roads would look like if people wanted to know what their road was gonna look like when it's done. Second to last page, I think, is this gives you my idea for my 6-year planning on how I was gonna pave. Again, by plow route, it's broken up by how I kinda have the town broken up by plow routes, but it gives you an idea of what roads are bad right now, how much it's gonna cost based on our current bid prices, to try and move forward. Again, whatever money can be appropriated, if it's less, then I will adjust accordingly and we'll have to keep pushing these down. Again, this is what's wrong, what's the problem roads now. In 6 years, more roads are gonna be at that point. Again, the roads in Tiverton aren't the best, we get calls all the time on them. And then the last one just gives you an idea of, these are the roads, the Tiverton wastewater, I'm making them pave curb to curb. Why? Because they're actually putting sewers in the roads, so I'm not gonna be touching these roads, they're gonna be paving them at their cost.
Will it be the whole road, Bill, or just?
Yep, face curb to curb, there will not be a patch. When they're done, they're paving curb, face to face, I'm making them do it. So curb to curb, yeah, because they're the last ones that are gonna be in there. I'm gonna go in there, depending on how much drainage money, or if we combine accounts, there are drainage fixes I have to do in these areas. I'm gonna fix them now so that when Tiverton's done with their sewers, they pave it once and they have a new road and we shouldn't have to go back in there and do any work on them.
Can I just ask a question? On some of those, they have a little parentheses with the O.
No, that's an overlay. So in other words, they're not completely gone where the base is rot, where everything's buckled, where everything is like there's no, I can actually mill 1.5 inches out and put 1.5 inches back down. Right, that's what the overlay means.
And then, so the others are like right down?
The other lays we're
to the-
gonna take out all the pavement, down at least, our typical road section is 4 inches, 2.5 inches of base, 1.5 inches of top. We'll take 4 or more, depending on what I see when they start taking it out, get to some decent gravel, they'll roll it, bring it back up, and then put the 4 inches of asphalt back.
A lot more expensive.
To do a full depth replacement, yes. But again, the roads now, like there's roads like, for instance, in William Barton that we're stuck, the town's stuck with now, the developer went out of business. There's only binder down there, so I've got to try and fix some binder sections, and then we're gonna have to pay to put the top coat on so we don't lose those roads entirely. That's on the list. It's William Barton and the roads up there, I wanna fix the binder section in the areas that I have to, and then put the final top coat in. Just like when we put Quintel in, when Quintel was done, the road to the middle school, that was only binder for years, so I had to get in there and put the top coat on it last year. So now that's complete.
No, there was a bunch of roads, and one of the other superintendents was here, that's all he did, is put binder down. I don't know how many years the binder's been done.
Right, and there's a bunch of roads that I ripped out, and I have one road right now that has only binder on it. I didn't have the money, so I put binder down, it had to get fixed. But I will patch that, it'll be the first thing we put the top on coming year. Binder for a year is fine, I mean, it happens in construction all the time. It's just you can't, if you start waiting 2-3 years, that's when you get traffic on it, it's gonna degrade it, it's not thick enough to support the traffic. But there's a lot of roads in town that are just binder. They're not finished.
Bill, when you look at these on the slide where it's laying it out by fiscal year.
Yep.
Most of these, unless they have an O, they're
They're
fives.
There are 5, so they're a complete, remove the pavement and redo it, correct.
And then the estimates to come up with this, is this through a contractor that says per
This is,
mile? And is it,
it's per square foot. So we pay so much a square foot for top with the 1.5 inch, we pay so much a square foot for the 2.5 inch base.
and
And then we
how,
pay so much per square foot for milling and so much for reclaiming. So reclaiming, when it goes in, it takes it all out. We pay so much for that. Reclaiming takes in and then leaves a base and they roll it back in. Milling just takes 1.5 inches out. That's what you see when they go down 295 or 24, things like that. That's when most of the time what they're doing.
and is there any engineering that needs to take place on them in terms of drainage?
That's one of the things that I'm gonna be doing. So like, there's, like, for instance, North Brayton, everyone kept telling me we're gonna redo it all, redo it all, redo it all. Well, after looking at it, there's nowhere for the water to go. So I didn't redo it all. I put some inlets in it, in the edge to get the water off the road, and I milled and paved it. It wasn't that bad, and I couldn't understand why everyone kept telling me it had to completely be replaced. So I wasn't going to waste money, the town's money, and completely redo a road that I didn't think needed it, and needed to get the water off the road, so we opened up some spots and took care of drainage, things like that. Again, a lot of the town, one of the things that I find odd is that a lot of the roads in town, I mean, in the rural section, I understand, there's no drainage structures, there's no way to collect the water, it's just, there's swales, and I'm putting a lot of swales in right now, and I'm trying to do things to take care of water problems. It's just, there's nothing to hook into, there's no drainage, so, again, the worst thing for a road is to build it, we put curbing on it, and the water can't get off. If the water can't get off, it's gonna eventually make the pavement fail, and that's what we're seeing right now. So I'm gonna be going around systematically and opening up roads to leave chutes, per se, so the water will get off the road. Yes, it might go into the wooded areas, I'm not gonna obviously drain it into someone's yard, so they're complaining. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons, like, for instance, Cynthia Avenue was a hot topic before I got here. It's gravel, we just now, it's one of the roads that we grade every year. It's not paved, but we pay to grade it, because it's a town road. I don't know why we're doing it again. It's one of those, there's a lot of things I still don't get why we do. And I'm gonna try and get to the bottom of that, but that's a process. But again, someone said we needed to pave it. Well, the council said no after they found out that we'd have to put drainage in, because you couldn't just drain into people's yards, which is, that's the problem. So we didn't pave it, we graded it, the council said no. But they're upset because they're still working in gravel and it hasn't been paved yet. So it's like, I get both ends.
I know one road that was just done, and after it was all done, one of the big rainstorms, water's coming right up through the lip,
Where's that?
someplace.
Yeah, Nicholson's an interesting, there's a stream, there is a spring that's off the edge of the road, that's coming off the edge and it's running down. Yes, I see that now, and that's something I'm gonna have to address. But that's only got a binder section on it right now, and that's why when I do Bobbin Hill, that will all get taken care of at once, that way there's no seams.
That's where a lot of the roads were built.
There's a lot of roads that have springs. I cannot imagine the amount of water coming out of the roads this year. It's incredible. There's ice spots all over the place. And people are seeing it because they're pumping out of their basements in sump pumps all out to the road, and that's what we're trying to stop.
Quick question. On the bad drainage areas that cause the ice, is there any way, until it's handled, you can put in some sort of temporary drainage, culverts, gullies, something, what are they called?
So we've actually taken, there were 3 spots on the northern side of Tiverton. Scenic View was one, Scenic View, there's 3 spots, Albert Street, and there's another one. We actually fixed 3 of them, putting in sub-drains along the edge of the road and stopped the water from coming off the road and getting out of the road. So we've corrected 3 of those spots. How much did they each cost? One was about $400, one was about $1,200. Again, it's somewhere between, $1,200 to $400, it all depends on what we have to do. A lot of the spots, though, is I have to put in a structure, some kind of a structure on the side of the road where these people are pumping out of the road, to give them, and I'm not doing the work for them, I'm just giving them a point to tie into, and they're gonna have to pay to tie their sump pump into the drain. Then it won't be coming out of the road and causing these issues we have to keep responding to. That's my goal in the spring and the money. So that's why $5,000 was budgeted last year for drainage. Okay, so I've spent in those 3 fixes $2,400. I still got more to do. Quaker is an expensive fix because there is no drainage there. The state was supposed to do it when they did the bridge, but that fell apart. So I have to put in I'm gonna have to put in at least three structures, some piping, and a portion of a subdrain to stop the water from going on the road, so it corrects the problem. That's not gonna be, but again, that's not, each basin's roughly about $1,000, $1,200. Then I gotta buy the pipe, then I gotta buy the stone, so it's gonna add up, it's gonna be more than $5,000.
So basins, not just drainage along the side of the road, isn't gonna fix it. It's just you need basins, actually.
I need, like, in other words, the subdrains I have put in to correct
Those are called
problems are
subdrains?
actually
Okay.
tied in, subdrains, a pipe in stone,
Oh, okay.
below grade,
Mhm.
water from the surface, that's coming out of really the ground is actually getting into the trench. That pipe is tied to a drain. That pipe is tied to a structure that's nearby. I don't have the luxury of that everywhere, so I've got to try and put that in. Again, there are sites that I can add a drop box across the street, and now I have a point to tie something into and do a fix like that. But we're gonna have to get to that point. You know, I've got other fixes on end of right-of-ways that drop off into the bay down at this Connet that are completely now eroded away and eroding people's yards that I'm gonna have to try and fix. That's on Old Colony, I got a fix to do there. I've got fixes to do in a lot of spots that I don't know why they weren't taken care of. Again, I'm just finding them out, talking to residents, trying to get them corrected now. Again, it all depends on how much money's available. If the money's not there, it's not getting done. It's that simple. And I try to tell people, if I can do it, and we can fix it, again, if the DPW is fixing it, we're only paying, right now, it's basically materials. Because the labor is already included in what we're paying them to be there anyway. If I have a contract to do it, it's gonna cost us 2 or 3 times as much, which I'm trying not to have to do if we don't have to. So really, all right, so that was my presentation on capital and paving and things like that. Again, my capital budget, which was approved, right, Nancy? From the, yes. 2 trucks at $118,000 apiece. A truck body for the 10-wheel dump truck, which was about $28,000, I believe, is in my budget. 23,000, I can't remember. 28. And then the 17,000 was for the 1-ton dump body, to try and take care of that problem. Then I should have a fleet that is all working again.
Bill, on the paving budget, the 245,000, what has been the past budgets of past years, do you know? Is that up to me to look up?
I want to say our average is around 250. When I first got here, I want to say it was 250. No money went into the budget last year. I think I have right now $30,000 left after paying what we did for 4 roads last year. Now, on that same paving budget, I have to buy my mix out of that to do all the road repairs we're doing. And then anything else that we have to buy for materials that go in there, filter fabric, things like that to fix the roads. So I can't spend, again, if I get 250,000, I'm not spending all of that on the roads. I have to save some for repairs we have to do for potholes, fixes on the road, take out sections and redo sections that are just heaving or doing something that's crazy.
So what's the realistic figure for doing what you think has to be done for drainage?
For drainage.
The worst ones that you know of.
Right now, just to fix the stuff in the north end of town, I think I put in my budget. Hold on. $120,000 when I did a budget estimate just to fix the things. Now, that was in the north end of town, thinking about, and that's $120,000 if I can't get to it all and I have to hire somebody. Again, we're trying to do it in conjunction with the sewer work so that I don't have to pave the road twice. I want to get the drainage in when the sewer's going in, or get it in before the sewer goes in, so that they pay for the roadway, and the town doesn't have to pay for the roadway. I want to have them do it. Last one in, just like on Hearst Lane right now when they're putting the sewers down for the casino, I'm making them pave shoulder to shoulder. So Hearst and Lee completely will be new roads when they're all said and done. Right. So really, I've got 120,000. That doesn't include all these little fixes I've been finding all winter long, because when I did my budget, again, but the little fixes, if you want to figure $1,200 to put a drop inlet and a little bit of pipe, you're probably looking at about $1,500 a whack to do each one of these little repairs I'm looking at. again, we're not trying to, and then I haven't, I'm doing estimates right now on what the Colonial Terrace or Colonial Terrace is gonna try and take care of right now. How much is that to fix? There's a slope embankment I gotta fix, and then there's a swale I gotta install over there, because right now the piping is surcharging, because there's so much water coming down that system, and it's going down the gentleman's driveway and eroding his entire back lawn. So, I'm trying to create that before that becomes a lawsuit with the town.
One more question. Lens Pond,
Yes,
a couple of weeks ago, the main road drove, everything was underwater.
correct.
That the state's problem, or?
I'll give you the history from what I found out. So Lens Pond is actually owned by the residents around Lens Pond. The church, is it church? Thank you. Daniel Church Estates, that whole drainage system dumps into Lens Pond. There's a homeowners association that's supposed to be taking care of Lens Pond and the dam. The big issue that happens there that's getting neglected is the outlet structure, which is on the left side, if you're standing on the dam looking at it, gets clogged and needs to be cleaned out, that the homeowners association is supposed to be doing. Written numerous letters and it's not getting done. When that backs up, the water in the pond comes up, and the last thing we need is it to go over the top of that and have a huge dam failure. So right now, I have it on a list of things that once a week we go out and we check it. Again, it's not DPW's responsibility, it's theirs. But that outlet structure gets tied into the state drainage system, which is down on Main Road. There is a crossing where that crosses under Main Road, that when you see it going over the road, that's because that drain is now blocked solid. So now that's on my list to keep tabs of it. I've been talking back and forth with Portsmouth to try and get them to fix that, so that doesn't occur anymore, because if we can fix the drain on Main so that the water doesn't block it and doesn't black up, then we don't have to worry about, or they don't have to worry about fixing that road. I'm surprised they haven't come back to the town yet and asked us to fix Main Road. I'm waiting for that. I haven't seen that yet. But it's a catch-22. It seems, I'm trying to keep that on tab so it doesn't cross the dam. Trying to work with DOT so they don't, they understand that they've got to fix that drain. It's not the town's responsibility. We don't maintain Main Road.
When you say you went to Portsmouth,
Portsmouth Garage for DOT.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Can the solicitor help you with that issue?
The solicitor does know about that issue. This issue goes back to 2 administrators ago, and that's when I was
So,
first pulled into it. So
Assessing fines and that type of thing?
I don't know if he's going to that point, but I think something's got to be done. The problem right now, I understand, is that the Daniel T. Church Estates doesn't think it's their responsibility for the dam. The 3 owners that are right up, that the dam is on their property, had to register the dam, so now Daniel Church is infighting with them, and it's become a legal nightmare. So again, I think we need to interject into it to stop the issue from happening.
Yeah,
To put some pressure on them.
I think the solicitor could assess fines if the town can, I don't know how the process is, but something could be done there.
Bill, I have a question about the plows.
Sure.
I know we had those old plows that were stationary, didn't
Yeah.
rotate side to side. So with these new plows,
Oh,
Take-
they'll have controls up in the cockpit, and they'll be able to turn the blades and do things with them.
I figured that, but do they replace the ones that are stationary?
So if I get approval to buy 2 new plows at what I'm looking for, I'm going to take 2 of the 1992, the oldest true plows we have, and I'm going to put them in the back. I'm not going to use them anymore. They will replace 2 of the stationary plows. And then I will readjust which plow does which route, but that's what we have to work on after, that's all.
That'll give you a lot more.
I mean, ultimately, my goal, it would be to try and replace the 4, at least the 4, maybe 5 by that point, plows, so I get the worst off the system, and now, I don't want, again, it makes no sense to buy all plows and replace them in 1 year, because then you get back to a problem later. Just, you gotta, whether it's 1 plow in a couple of years, or 2 more, I don't know, we'll cross that bridge. Actually, in my capital plan, I think I've looked at buying 2, skipping a year, trying to buy 2, skip another year, buy 1 more. That, to try and get the fleet back up. I mean, everyone else is not running 1992 plows, so they will laugh. Actually, the Portsmouth director was laughing when we were talking, so. That's what we have to work with, that's what I try and work with. All right. But again, it's not the newer plows, it's the issue when, like that storm event, wasn't the big one. It was the one before that, probably early in December. where it was icy, it was snowy, we were sent out, I had 7 plows down at one time. Sanding issues, pony motor issues, transmission problems in the older trucks. There was I had one truck the last storm where the actual sander broke free of the chassis and almost had the truck go right over. Safety, okay? I don't even want to look at what would happen if I took these trucks down to the state. I don't want to look at if I took them to the state garage and had them inspected. I don't know how many of them would come back, you know. The newer stuff, yeah, that's fine. It's just, again, it's tough enough trying to do the town with 9 plows. If we're down 7, it makes it very tough to do the towns with 9 plows. And when I call in my private vendors on any storm 3 inches or more, they don't have sanders, they just have a plow. So it kind of, you know, it puts a strain on us trying to get it back up.
Bill, I want to go back to the fact that the council has approved, if I heard right, 2 new trucks. If I look on the handout of the capital budget under fiscal year 2019, so that's 2 dump trucks, plow and sanders, International Ford 650, for a total of $220,000?
Correct.
Okay, so that's what, and the council,
Well, they approved 118 per, right?
That's a tentative amount because we have to find out the financing of that.
Right.
okay.
The treasurer's gonna work on some financing.
So, but the fact that the trucks have been approved, the 220,000 is to be determined.
Correct. Right now, I have 2 quotes from, it's 118 for the truck, with the plow and the sander and everything, right? The package.
Okay, thank you.
What was approved? Was it the 2 trucks and the
So-
body for the 10 wheel?
The body, yeah, so under my capital plan for this year, I had proposed something different. We talked about, when I had all the plow trucks early on, so I changed that with the council. Now it was the 2 trucks. It was a stone, I had asked for a stainless steel body for the 10-wheel dump truck and a stainless steel body for the 550 dump truck, the sander. We switched those to stainless steel, not stainless steel, but regular standard steel bodies. With the life expectancy, the truck will probably be, and the body it we're replacing will probably be at the time when they have to be replaced. And that was what the council had agreed with, said if you can go with steel bodies, they would, so that's what's in my capital right now. 2 bodies, which will get those 2 trucks back up and running, full to 100%, and the 2 new plows, which I can hopefully retire 2 1992 vehicles.
So I should be looking at this DPW capital sheet versus
What was in the original
what
budget?
was in the original budget.
Right.
The first, 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Okay, now, on the original sheet, you were asking for, well, that was tractor trailer rear suspension. Is that gone or still
Nope,
approved?
so what I ended up doing was flip-flopping. So in next year's budget, when I looked at a 5-year plan, I had the trucks and the bodies in that year budget, and in this year budget, I had some smaller items. I had the rear suspension on the tractor trailer, I had the skid steer I was looking for, and I had a couple other things, making a smaller budget, hoping I could get another year until maybe some casino money came in, or something that would allow us to do what we need to. Except when I have to keep, like, my first year, a couple trucks went down, we were okay, things happened. This year, I just get more frequency of breakdowns on the older vehicles. It's just not, it's getting problematic right now to keep things running. So that's why we flip-flopped.
Okay, you have to bear with me here. So, the town hall heating and air conditioning.
That was the former town administrator's thought of trying to fix this building.
Yeah,
They-
so that's
that's
gone.
one.
So, okay.
Yep,
How about the tractor trailer rear suspension?
that's in next year's, that'll be in next year's
Okay,
budget.
so that's out of this year's.
That's out, yep.
10-wheel dump body.
That's still in it, yep.
Okay, that's
yep.
still in.
That's the 10-wheel dump body, yep. That's the one.
And then how about the Bobcat?
Bobcat's pushed into I agreed to push it into next year, hoping I could get a truck instead to plow.
So the only thing that survived the original budget is the 10-wheel dump body.
Correct,
And then I've got to come over to this other sheet and look at 2019.
correct. but it's not two 10-wheel bodies, it's just one.
Yep. Well, it didn't, on the original, it didn't say whether it was one or two. Okay. All right, thank you.
And a quick question, I guess it's more of the request from you, looking at the drainage work, right, for the north end of Tiverton is 120,000, and then 553 for paving. Has the town council approved that?
300, they're looking at a number of like 335 right now,
As a combined
as a combined account
combined restricted account for drainage and paving.
for drainage and paving.
Say that amount again?
So they're looking for a combined restricted drainage and paving account of 335,000. They haven't formally said, that's what they've tentatively cut it down to as they're looking to the rest of the budget.
They just approved this stuff Tuesday night.
Okay.
We had another meeting last night and tonight, so I don't have the page, but by next week I'll give you a full page.
So that's draining and
And
paving
right. I'm
combined.
asking to combine the two accounts. So it gives me some flexibility to fix the drainage and not have money for paving if I can't really pave a road. I don't like to do things twice. I don't want to waste the town's money in paving something that if the drainage isn't going to work, then the paving's not going to work, so.
This was one account, Cecil, you probably remember that, it was always one account drainage and paving before, and then for some reason it's separated. I think that was Steve Belucci, he did,
Hmm.
and then we, it looks like it's going back.
Bill, if the total number goes down, when you look at the plan that you have going across the years, is it the ones that are lower on the list for each year that might have an O for just overlay that don't get done? Or is it basically everything that you hope to do in 19, if you didn't get fully funded, those pop, so everything, does it shift around?
No, so
or is
what-
it, I know you're
right.
doing it regionally, that
Regionally, so what I'll do is I'll take like the first, what I had proposed, and I'll look back and I'll see, okay, what can I get done that's gonna make best sense for the dollar? And I'll take the money that's been approved and I'll apply it to that. Whatever doesn't get done, I'm gonna push into the next year, and I'll try and reformulate. Again, it might make us move, do a little here and then go to this section and do that, but I'm gonna try and push it so that I'm trying to get the most, I wanna get the worst roads done first, but if it's a high-traffic road, for instance, that gets a lot of use, I wanna get that done first. Again, I'll take a high-traffic road over a smaller road. Again, the homeowner's probably not gonna be happy, but if we're having all these problems on the high-traffic roads, I wanna fix those first, then go to the lower, it just makes sense for the way, I don't wanna waste dollars.
Okay, I'm gonna switch topics on you. Last year, there was a considerable amount of discussion about the condition of Pond Bridge Road Bridge down in the south end of town. I don't see anything.
Right, and Pond Bridge
about
Road
that.
Bridge is on the tip right now. So
Okay.
it is on the state tip to be so there's gonna be state money. Like right now, there's state money in this year's budget for the roundabout and Stone and the abutment project. That money is in the tip this year. Stonebridge is in 1 year. I don't know if it's next year or the year after is scheduled. That's the money that's gonna use to fix the Stonebridge. That's
Pond-
the bridge, the Pond Bridge Road, right.
That's not a state road.
No, it's not a state road, but the good thing about the tip with the state, the transportation funds, if we have a state project, I actually list it on the tip, and that's actually been on the tip now for a number of years. We recategorize and I try to pull it closer to get that fixed right now. It's in bad shape. I just put signs up there last year to reduce the weight limits on the bridge at the request of DOT, because again, even though it's our bridge, they still inspect it, they're still technically responsible for it because it's a state bridge. Yes, it's our bridge, yes, it's on one of our roads, but that money to fix that bridge is gonna be coming out of the state tip. So that's why that's why I'm
Yeah.
not proposing it anywhere in our budget right now, right?
One of the great mysteries of the process.
Correct.
I just worry about the amount of traffic that goes across that bridge, particularly in the summer, with Fogland Beach down there.
Correct.
Becoming more and more popular every year, windsurfers and so on and so forth. And I know that isn't heavy traffic, but
Correct,
it's
it's just a lot of traffic.
a lot of traffic.
I guess the DOT is telling me they're more worried about the truck traffic over that. So if it, again, I think it's due for inspection this spring. If it gets degraded further, maybe they won't allow truck traffic at all.
Yeah, because they can go around.
Right, if they have to go around, they go around, but the state makes that call again, that's their program there. I'm just kind of working with them to, hopefully, and if that has to get kicked up too, they will have to kick it up too, if that's that bad. And last thing I want to do is really close the bridge out, and we can't use that road anymore, because it's a thoroughfare down at Fogland Beach.
Yep.
You said you're working with the sewer schedule. Is there somewhere we can see the sewer schedule, or what is that?
If you go to the Tiverton Wastewater District's website,
Okay.
they have that right there. On
Okay.
there. Actually, I have a set of plans in my office if anyone would like to see them. I
Thank
do have
you.
what roads are on. I've listed the roads in my PowerPoint presentation. Again, the sewer's not going on everywhere on those roads, but this year they'll be going so far up, and then the next phase, they're gonna be continuing on, so. But I'm not planning, so those roads, yes, some of them are in bad condition. I'm not planning on touching those, because I know sewer's going in there this year and next year.
So your list takes sewers into account, which is fine. Okay,
Correct, my
thank
list,
you.
so anywhere that the Tiverton wastewater is putting sewers, I'm not touching those roads. I will go in there and I'll fix the drainage and I'll put a patch, but knowing full well that they're gonna be behind me putting sewers and disrupting it even further. And they're responsible to pave curb to curb.
Okay.
There's nothing accusatory in this. I'm just curious about the numbers. So you gave us comparative numbers with other towns, and just quickly looked at, so for example, Portsmouth has 34% more town roads, and their road crew is 33% bigger, which is about what you would expect. But if you look at their audit, their budget for DPW is only 7% more. And I actually checked their labor contracts too, and they actually pay a little bit better. I'm just wondering if anything comes to mind immediately that would account for why the budget's so much similar for so much more.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't give me budget numbers, so I can't, you probably have more, you have more information than I do. I could look further. I was just looking at size of complement, crew complement, road size, trying to do a comparison that way. I wasn't looking at what their budget was compared to what, and again, I was just looking at what do they typically spend on roads compared to what do we spend on roads. I was doing a comparison more there, not looking at how much do we spend per dollar per person. I wasn't going that far.
Okay.
Along those lines, I was on East Main Road today, and there's very bad potholes on Portsmouth East Main Road.
Okay.
So, just letting you know. And another comment on the chart, some of these towns have, Warren has higher tax per thousand than we do. Bristol has really high taxes. It's something we don't want to go to. So, just a comment, nothing to say that you don't need what you need, but.
I mean, again, I'm not complaining about the size of the force. I mean, would I like a couple, what I would really like is another mechanic, given the amount of down stuff that's coming down. But, if it's not in the cards, it's not in the cards. I do have a part-time mechanic. I'm trying to, one of the issues, and as you go through the budget, you'll see there's quite an increase in the wages. That's not related to, there is I think there are 2% or 1.5% increase for them this year, but the issue with that is, and I kind of explained it in my backup, the former administrator did the budget last year. He made a mistake. There was a complete mistake. I was $28,000 in the hole when I started the budget this year on my labor, because he didn't account for things. He didn't account for my part-time mechanic. He didn't account for the right rates for my guys. He didn't account for a lot. So I had to find money in my budget to make up for the $28,000. So the number I'm asking for this year seems to be a lot more than a 1.5% increase, but it's not. It's the corrected budget for the people we have, including the 1.5% increase or whatever. I don't have the contract or amend, but that's what it was.
This is kind of a different kind of question. On the sand, getting the sand into the trucks, and I don't know much about this, but is there any way you can have a conveyor system coming out from where the sand is stored and then just go straight into the trucks rather than having to have a vehicle? I'm just asking the question. Don't they do that? Okay.
There is, but right now I don't know if I have electricity over in the building.
That type of
sand
thing.
that would be able to run the conveyor. But it's it's a possibility.
I like to think outside the box
I'm just-
sometimes.
Yeah, but I think you need to pit, but.
That's not to be fed by a person.
Correct, you're gonna fit, or you'd have to create a conveyor system on the floor
Auto sensor.
that would actually, the sand would have to come in, conveyor would load it to the pretty
Top.
much the other conveyor and shoot it in the trucks. And you would still need a truck to push, to keep in the sand in it. So I don't know if it could completely eliminate that.
Okay,
I mean, we have the loader, we use the loader for a lot of other things than just loading trucks, so
okay,
it's there.
okay, that makes
It's-
me feel better, thanks.
And during a storm event, I'm not, it's, if the mechanics, my mechanic's the one that's loading the trucks. So if there's nothing broken down, he's actually loading the vehicles. Because not every one of my drivers right now, can load their own truck. There's only, I have throughout, I think one of the questions that came out last year was there wasn't a lot of turnover. Well, I've now lost, I've lost 4 people in the last year. 2 to retirement, 2 for other reasons. I've hired now 3 people at the lower end of the tadpole. They're just truck drivers. What has that done? Well, it's changed my longevity huge. It dropped my longevity because the new guys do not get longevity in our contracts. My numbers have come down. I still have the same number of personnel, but now I have more truck drivers than I do operators. So that actually brings my wages down a little bit too. It's just how it worked its way out.
And you guys are the ones who plow the sand from Fogland, right?
Correct, so we have to actually send the loader down for that.
Summer task.
We actually have to send the loader down for that, because that's how bad it gets
Okay.
done if I want.
Okay. Thank you.
Last year, there was some discussion about the sidewalks in North Tiverton
Mhm.
and whether you had to clear them and you needed a snow blower. Whatever happened with all that?
So the state passed a wonderful new law that puts the sidewalks in all of Tiverton technically in our responsibility to take care of. Snow blower is probably not a big enough snow blower to walk behind that we could do sidewalks in Tiverton. One of the things is why I had the skid steer in. There's an attachment for a snow blower and one of the attachments I would get would be a snow blower that I could actually, after we finish the roads, put someone in the skid steer. He drives down the sidewalks and he clears them with the snow blower, with the skid steer. I know in my town we have a little one that does the exact same thing. In Middletown, I just heard that they're trying something new again after I created this budget. They actually have an attachment that they put on their grass cutter, that on the arm that can go over like a snow blower and try and clear sidewalks. Our snow blower's old. I don't know if I can get an attachment for that to change that out. I'm gonna look into it, see if it's a possibility. Again, I still would like to get a skid steer. There are so many things that I wish if I had it I could be doing right now. One of the things I want to get with the skid steer, I'll bring it up now, is I'd like to get a milling attachment for it, so I can actually go out and do a nice cut and put a nice patch in, so that we're not creating speed bumps all over town when we do our patches. It's just something would be nice. I'd like to get a York rake, because we're always asked to take care of the beaches and rake the sand. Okay, yeah, we'll put that on, I do that. Get a broom attachment, get a brush cutter attachment, so I can help out doing the slopes at the landfill. Get the snow blower attachment so that I can do what we need to do on sidewalks and things like that. It's just a versatile little tool that would be nice to have at the facility.
Is a skid steer?
That's the skid steer, yes.
Is that the same thing as a Bobcat?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I guess it's been in the budget now for 3 years, it was nixed, but again, I'll push it, I'll see if I can push it another year. At this point, there's a greater need to have a dump truck snowplow that's more reliable than what we have, so.
So, any other questions for Mr. Anderson?
I didn't know if you had any other questions on the budget itself or for me or in the operational side. Or things I should bring to your attention as you're going through it.
Yeah, what's it gonna cost you for a new garage?
Yeah, probably I think I got a price of like $3 million to build a new garage. Right.
And to fix the back wall?
That will fix, and to fix the back wall, I'll try and do whatever that was which brings up a point. All right, so one of the things I noticed in the budget of DPW was the fact that Again, this is the first time I put together the budget based on real numbers. I can honestly tell you, I don't know how they did it in prior years. I can't find out anywhere in files on how they came up with the numbers they did. And I'm thinking it was the dartboard method, that they threw a dot and whatever number it landed on, that was the number they asked for. I actually came up in my budget, I don't know if you've gotten it, in their Excel spreadsheets with backup. I went back years and looked at things. I looked at accounts, what we bought, what we went through. I just try to rationalize it. Why are we spending this money? I try and treat it like mine. If it's my money, I'm not gonna spend it on things I don't need. One of the things I found out that we have an account called office supplies. Well, there were things being bought under office supplies that are not office supplies, like training, like clothing, like tools for things. I'm like, again, it's no one's, that's how it was always done. So I've broken it out this year, and you'll see it in the budget. I've tried to move accounts to, and put the monies in it based on what I saw was in the budgets. Yes, we do need training for the guys. There are certain credits that they have to get for some of their licenses. I have to get some for mine. There should be a continuing education classes. There should be things like that. It should be under office supplies, because I can't understand why this. So I've broken it out this year. Construction supplies, things like stop signs, tape measures, things to fix buildings, which I don't have. Like, for instance, the salt shed, the wheels and everything, and the hinges have rotted. That's not in my budget. I don't know where to put it in my budget, because it's not really a capital expense. It's about $2,000. I'll try and find money somewhere to pay for that. But again, one of the things that's happened over the years, which again, I don't understand why, we've been spending roughly $88,000 a year on just parts and things to keep the aging fleet I have going. Okay, but when you drop it to 80 this year, when I dropped it to 80 in this year's budget, it's gonna hurt me come June. I mean, I may just have to, okay, park that, I can't use that now. I don't have the money to fix it. All the stuff I've had to fix on the trucks right now, it's hurt me, If it keeps snowing, we've spent a good deal of, I've had to buy a lot of sand and salt. We are at, the budgets this year, I think we're at $30,000 left for sand and salt from 90. I'm okay on the other things. My overtime's a little up on things, but that's because we took on leaf and yard waste off the vendor. And it's cheaper for us to do it than it is for the vendor to do it. So we've been doing that. But I had to roll into Saturdays to get the whole town picked up, a little overtime. I've spent roughly about $14,000 this year just in overtime related to snowstorms. Then we also had that mini hurricane, I'm gonna call, that came through. We spent a little bit of overtime on that as well.
On parts,
Yep.
same with the older vehicles. Can you get used parts for the older vehicles?
We do buy used parts. We don't buy all new parts.
Okay.
Right now, the one bad part about parts is the FL80s and the 8000s, the old 92 vehicles. We can't get parts for those anymore. We're actually on
At all?
eBay looking for things. No, because they don't make the parts anymore. Their trucks are so old. Ford doesn't.
Auctions, anything, nothing?
We're on eBay and auctions trying to find
Okay,
parts.
okay.
Just for pedals, for things like, we'll make parts. We've actually, some of the sanders, they don't make the sanders anymore. We're fabricating shafts and spinners and things, which costs more money to fabricate parts than it does to buy a part. Again, it's an aging fleet. They don't make them anymore. We're trying to hold on and do what we can, but if we cut back on that budget, there's gonna come a point where we just can't fix something.
This is actually for Nancy when she comes back. The last budget that we have, it was handed out was the 11th, so almost a month ago. Are there, obviously the far right column with the town administrator, town council, those have all changed, is that a fair?
They changed on Tuesday, so I do have it on my laptop, but I haven't printed out for you, because we had meetings Wednesday and tonight, so.
Yeah.
But yes, by next week I will have you an update, because I don't change it until they vote on it. And the first time they met, they didn't make any votes. But Tuesday night they did, and basically the votes, they actually approved a lot, but as it's stated there, the changes did come in Mr. Anderson's, and he's discussed that tonight with you. The drainage and paving went to $335,000. and the 10-wheel dump body is 28,000. A 1-ton dump body is, I had 15,000. I heard Bill say 17 tonight, but
Yeah, I don't,
one of us,
it was one of the, whatever number they voted right.
yeah.
Now, they're still looking at the final numbers on my operational side, because they're trying to bring their stuff down, so I can't tell you where they stand on this.
Okay, because that to me is like one of the questions, if we're looking is, we have a column on this, which is your assessment in terms of the operational side of things, and then the town administrator / council in the far right column, and those are not numbers. Because to me, one of the things, the values of having the department heads come in is to get some assessment of, here's what you would like in your professional judgment to get. Town council is balancing many things, and we have to then balance to say on what we feel. But it would seem it's premature right now, so if I go through and say, trying to look at the column that says department head, and then look at the column TA, in terms of town administrator / council, is that?
Right, I mean, my numbers are what I put under, obviously, the director, and that's baked on, there's a backup for every one of those numbers. The town administrator was the former town administrator who sat with me and says, well, we gotta cut that. Okay, but, you know, but again, what he was doing was comparing it to last year. My problem with comparing it to last year is there's no rhyme or reason why. I can't figure out for the life of me where they came up with the numbers. So it's tough for me to compare to last year. And I know for a fact there were a lot of errors in what they did last year, from what I've been able to find as I was putting this year's budget together. Again, $28,000 in the hole. I hadn't started the year yet with just in salaries alone.
My last one is dated February 6th, because that's the date we met. So I could probably email it to you, and then I'll take copies.
And I don't know, I get, I can ask and you tell me it's not fair, but looking at when you look at the operational budget, there's certain things that are easy, that are contractual in terms of wages, and you kind of go, okay, and there was a mistake in terms of the way things were counted, but there's judgments that are here that will be in the approved ones, that asking you is to say, can you get the work done if it were, if we approve the town council budget. So really, and I mean, to me, looking at where are the biggest discrepancies between what you think you would, or what you want, and then where the town council, town administrator is coming in.
So the town council did go through each and every line item with each department head,
Yep.
and they come to terms with, well, you know, we need this as a priority of that, because they're looking at it holistically too, as to all their departments. But they did do an awful lot of voting Tuesday
Okay,
night.
good.
It didn't change a lot of the operational budget.
Bill, the price on that body, they go to install it for you?
Yes.
Bill, when you received your instructions to put your budget together for the coming year, were there any parameters given in terms
The
of?
town administrator knew that because we had discussions, he knew that last year's budget, there was no public works director at the time when the budget, because I started, I think, 2 weeks or a week before I sat in front of you at the time, and I reviewed the budget, and I'm like, well, I don't know, that doesn't make sense, that number, and things like that, but at that point, it was already approved by the council in front of you when we were doing this. He said to me, put together what you think you would need, you know, but you have backup for it, so that's what I did, and that's how I came up with my numbers. Now, again, I understand that there will be cuts, and there will be things that I'll have to live with, and that's fine. I just thought, you know, I put a stab at, you know, I looked at what the last number was, and I'm like, okay, that's what they approved last year, but we keep spending this, what are we spending that on? So I trickled in and I was looking, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't look like I can do without, so I need that. Or I'd look at it and say, okay, well, maybe we can take an average. If it was 3, I did a lot of that too, to try and come up with a number that actually means something. The drainage numbers, I put together estimates myself, obviously, and paving, that's based on our bids. New things again, I tried to break out what was in a wrong account and make a new account, and so you'll see that here. I tried to put my numbers for like my parts back up to where it was at. But again, if that's gonna get cut, that's more than what was approved last year, I understand that, and when I sat with the town administrator, he's like, well, that's, and they kept comparing it to last year, I'm like, well, fine, but if last year's numbers weren't realistic, well, you're gonna keep comparing me to that. I said, okay, then I'll try and so I put together a budget I could defend. That's what I can defend. If you tell me we gotta cut it down, we cut it down. I understand that.
But I guess part of where I'm looking is, if you, sand, salt, and gravel, you appropriated this current fiscal year, there's 90 in there, you're saying we got 30 left, let's hope it doesn't snow, right, too much. And your judgment, based on averages and all, would say 105,000 is a number you're more comfortable with.
And that's, how did I come up with that? So I looked back at last 5 years worth of storms. 12, 13 being a very high year, that's the year. 14, 15 we had the bad storms. Last year and the year before that, not too many. I looked at the number of storm events, I looked at everything, and I tried to have a rolling average. Now I have a rolling average, and that's the rolling average that I used over 5 years. I didn't assume we were gonna have a bad winter like we had in 12, 13. I took a rolling average. Now, does that mean that 12, 13 has a little bit of effect in it? Sure. But in other words, it's based on something. So next year, when I plug this year's numbers in, I'll actually continue having a 5-year average, and that's how I came up with the number. Like that's one of the things the town administrator said to me. You didn't round it. I'm like, I don't want to round it. That's the average. I mean, it is what it is. That's what I try to come up with.
If you look, so going down that, there's engineering consulting services of 40,000. And then there's a 0. I guess part of my question would be is that if we think about the drainage and some of the other things we're doing, is if you need a licensed engineer, if you have that certification, but not being in a bind where there's things that we're appropriating money, and then on the operational side of things, there isn't the funding for it and we can't do it. So here's 40 grand saying, in your judgment, this is something we need.
Well, the $40,000 came out of a discussion between the building official, the town administrator, and myself. We were discussing how really there's no consultant who's on an on-call service to help the town if we needed something done. Let's assume I have a catastrophe, I need a consulting engineer. All right. So he asked me and looked at it, well, put as a placeholder 40. We'll put it, we talked about a number of 20 to 40, and he said, just hold 40 for now, and then he cut it to nothing when we saw how much, and that's fine. Not having, again, I don't have a consultant now. I'm dealing with, so if there's a drainage design, I'm doing the engineering. I hand the sheet to my guys, the sketches, and they're gonna go out and they're gonna install it, and that's what they're doing. If I need help, like for instance, on projects like where the town has to oversee the roundabout, not DOT, so I'm doing that. But I can't be there 100% of the time, so I have Stair Engineering doing that. Twin River's paying for that right now. So Stair is working for us. So just like on the Stonebridge abutment, I have to oversee that for the town as well. Okay, fine, but I can't spend 100% of my time there. There's just not enough time in the day to do that. So I have Felch Engineering, who the DOT is paying for that, to oversee that and report to me and do things like that. So yes, it's nice to have a consultant, but when you don't have the money, you just can't do it. It's me. I mean, again, the planning board has a consultant to help them do review work on projects as well as I'm reviewing things. I spend some time afterwards and I review things because again, I'm the one that's gonna have to accept the road at the end or the drainage system or whatever. And I used to be a consultant, so I know they're out there looking to, yeah, that's okay. Well, they're not the ones that have to deal with it at the end. I have to, so I always put my 2 cents. So yeah, there's times when you need consultants and there's times when you don't. But again, if a major catastrophe comes up and I need a consultant, well, I'm gonna go in front of the council and I have to ask for an emergency now because we have to get this taken care of.
So you mean like a hurricane? If the hurricane happens,
or,
does the state step in?
That's if a hurricane came through, right?
That's a different situation, but the council did thoroughly discuss this. And because Mr. Anderson is an engineer, and that's what we wanted when we hired a DPW director, on the things like the casino, the roundabout and all, they have to, Twin Rivers will pay for that consultant, or whatever it is. And like you said, the state is gonna pay for the one for the abutment. But certainly there's gonna be some pot, perhaps, that Mr. Anderson's engineering degree isn't going to cover, and he may need to go out to a consultant. but we thought it'd be better to handle that as it comes. It has not arisen there yet, but if it does, we'll have to handle it when it comes. Would be nice to have a town engineer besides the DPW director, but we don't have that position. We've kind of incorporated it, and that right now is a luxury the council didn't think it could afford.
Any other questions for Mr. Anderson?
Just had a quick question on the engineering portion of that. Other public works departments around the state, do you know if their heads are also engineers, or if that's a requirement, or?
Most public works in the state have an engineer in the town, because, like, for instance, East Greenwich has a public works director who also serves as the town engineer like me. However, in East Greenwich, they also have an assistant town engineer. That's all they do. It's just so it works for under the DPW and works with the planning board and this board and that board, you know.
Okay.
In a sense, we don't have the luxury here. Again, I serve as both.
Yeah.
I do as what I can.
Which is fantastic. We're getting a huge bang for the buck.
Right.
My concern, though, is liability-wise, we look at this number of 40,000, that's jump change to have an outside person help you on something that may end up costing the town a liability down the road. So they would end up sharing that liability or eating it versus the town. So, thank you.
Well, do you get compensated for all these extra meetings you go to?
No.
It's all part of your salary?
So I get paid a salary like every town employee does, and I know my salary is based on 40 hours a work week, and I'm telling you, I don't work 40 hours a week.
No, I know that.
A lot of people don't, so.
But I'm not complaining about it. It's just, you know, I do track my hours on a timesheet every week, so.
Any other questions? Okay. We reserve the right to recall you,
No problem.
but aside from that, we thank you very much for your time.
I
Thank you.
apologize for not being able to show the PowerPoint. I worked hard. My son actually helped me with it, so I want to thank him.
Okay.
So much.
Thank you.
Take it easy, go along. Take it
Go.
easy, go along.
So the next item is update site visits and scheduling. Now, I understand that Mike was doing that, and he's not here. I did not receive any communication from him about that. He let me know he wasn't going to be here. So,
I do not believe that he did set anything up yet.
well, if you did, we don't know. So we have no update on site visits and scheduling. Review and approval of minute. Try that again. Review and approval of meeting minutes.
Okay, so the only ones that I brought were the January 18th ones. We had actually already approved these, and then Mike noted an error. It was in attendance. I do have copies. He had noted that Mr. Paul was absent when he was actually in attendance. So he redid those minutes and reprinted them and brought them here, or asked me to bring them here tonight to re-vote on them. And that's the only change, was just adding Mr. Paul in attendance for the January 18th. I did not bring the other minutes with me.
Okay, now Mike did send out an email. I don't know that anybody's had a chance to print them and look at them. We'll say that we have not. So, distribution of documents as available.
Can I just make a motion
Yep.
to approve
The
the January 18th amended minutes?
A second?
Any discussion? All in favor? I've got a couple other sets of documents here, having to do with the backup book, actually. This is for the economic development. expenses included in that. And I've also got the harbor masters. Now, Nancy, is this an update or is this the original?
They just submitted them.
So this is
The
new.
Economic Development and the Harbor Master just submitted them. The stuff from the DPW director was just in addition to what we have. It's just additional information.
So this would supplant anything that was in the original handout?
Just to give you better information on the
Okay.
streets and the costs.
So this one, we shouldn't look at it as a backup addition. We should look at it as an addition to the master municipal budget, correct?
Who was that on the DPW?
No, harbor master.
Harbor Master, yes, I don't.
We're
believe-
shy one.
Yeah. He hadn't originally submitted anything. I think the prior administrator just kind of plugged in his numbers.
Yeah,
But now he's submitted it.
okay.
I don't know what the council will do with it. They haven't received it yet either.
Okay. All right, does anybody else have anything they want to distribute for the public record? Anybody have any other? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion?
What's that we're gonna do next week?
I don't know. Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. So all in favor?
Good.
And we are adjourned.